I don't know enough to be able to say this isn't true. But I'm also don't know enough to say it is true. It's Friday. I thought we'd have some fun by looking at something that I don't know, might be true, probably not, but could be. I know that Ashton Forbes has done his homework. He's an intelligent human being and knows the science behind all of this and may be right. I don't know. Ashton is with us. He told me half an hour ago, he kind of feels like every day he's like, I don't know. So we're about to show some video here, Ashton, of the plane and this is the main thing that you say needs to be looked at. Tell me about the video, what we're about to hear and see, and where we got the video.
Yeah, so this video has been on the internet since 2014. We've been able to trace it back to an account called Regicide Anon. The very first video, satellite video, says received March 12th, 2014, source protected. It was published May 19th, 2014. This is 9 days before the raw telemetry data, those satellite pings, were first available to the public. And that's why it's so important when we see those coordinates in the bottom left. The second video was supposedly received June 5th, 2014, published June 12th, 2014, on the same channel. Most people ignored this footage. A lot of people have said that they saw it back in 2014. I saw the drone video back in 2014. I ignored it like most people did. I think it's only in 2023, 2024 that we could even begin to understand that what we see there is potentially real, because science on the public side is slowly catching up. These private defense contractors, they know this stuff is real, and that's how far ahead they are from us. So they are potentially 50 or 100 years beyond what the public might think is possible. We had a $150,000 bounty for the hoaxer to come forward with proof of their source work, because somebody didn't make these with just one shot. It would have taken lots of time and effort to put these together. There's not one discrepancy on a single frame in either video. No errors anywhere. The clouds actually do move and evolve in the satellite video. People don't think that they do because they don't realize how far away the satellites are potentially from the Earth and how each perspective is only a few seconds. The zap of the satellite video accurately illuminates the volumetric clouds in 3 dimensions. There's no reference copy to copy any of this from, which is a prerequisite for producing CGI. Because we have 2 videos from different perspectives that are perfectly in sync with one another, and you can see the same clouds and even triangulate the drone position, this would require a full 3D rendered environment using hardware and software from before 2014. This also predates all commercial AI as well as deepfake technology. So if people think that you could recreate this, I guarantee you this is not some simple recreation in order to pull this off. Now, even more important than that, the details in the videos are scientifically accurate. What we're looking at here is something called macroscopic phase conjugation. It is essentially functionally equivalent to Star Trek warp drive. This is science that would be consistent with what Tesla had put forth and other people like Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Bearden in the 80s. The simplest explanation I could give is that there is an extra dimension that we do not perceive that our reality is painted onto. We're going to bring back the term the ether, which is something that Tesla promoted. This is how we get the negative energy requirement that we need in order for a wormhole to exist. The macroscopic phase conjugation uses something called mixed wave interferometry. It's very similar to holography in terms of making a hologram. We have our 3 pump waves, which is our 0-point system that we see with our orbs and creating that triangle formation. And then we have a 4th orb that we do not see on the screen here, which is essentially shooting a phase conjugate wave into that, and then it gets a perfectly reflected beam going back the other direction. So essentially we are creating a gravitational wave here through electromagnetics, and then we are having this plane slingshot, like pulling on a rubber band and letting go of one side from one location to another. So what I'm saying here is this is not aliens. This is our technology. I don't know where we got it, and I don't frankly really care. I think it could go as far back as 1943 in the Philadelphia experiment, maybe even the Manhattan Project. But what I want people to know is that Tesla was right. The event that we see in the thermal is an endothermic event. It's an absorption of energy. This is, again, consistent with what Thomas Bearden promoted in the 80s, talking about cold explosions, absorbing energy from one location and having it reappear somewhere else. This may even be the first endothermic event ever recorded, as far as I know.
Now, basically what you're talking about is we're making a wormhole, right?
Yeah, yeah, and so this goes back to an idea that has been promoted by Einstein. Or ER equals EPR. Leonard Susskind and Juan Maldacena have promoted this, which is the idea that an Einstein-Rosen bridge, a wormhole, could be consistent with Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen, which is quantum entanglement. We know we can teleport quantum information.
Correct.
That's already been proven. But
Yes.
the idea is, how do we do that on a macroscopic scale? Juan Maldacena has actually recently, in the last 4 years, promoted humanly traversable wormholes as well as papers. So the idea that you could go through a wormhole and you're not going to be ripped to shreds. In fact, we were just looking recently on my live streams, 2 different Defense Intelligence Agency papers. One called Warp Drive, Dark Energy, and Manipulation of Extra Dimensions. And the other one called Traversable Wormholes, Stargates, and Negative Energy. Both of these papers pretty much lay out exactly what we see in those videos. And the only thing that people are confused about is how do you get the negative energy requirement? Well, once you add the idea of the ether and we get rid of all this quantum fluctuations and virtual particles that physicists talk about now, that's just the ether with extra steps. So we just go back to the idea of having the ether. And if you have a high enough energy intensity, you break through the Schwinger limit. And now our kind of local space-time becomes nonlinear.
Okay.
And it's going to self-correct.
Okay. You're way over my head. I'm sure you're way over everybody else's head. But I wanted you to show you're not an idiot when it comes to science. Now, go back to the video. Let's show it. It's the blue video with the heat signature of the plane, which is that the satellite video?
No, that one's our drone video. So the satellite video is going to be the white and kind of blue one.
Okay.
And we believe this is happening at night, and it's false color IR in the satellite,
So,
and in the drone video it's thermal.
Okay, so we see in the thermal video, the drone video, we see one object, round object, coming to the plane and then kind of making a weird kind of path around the plane. Then 2 others come and they triangulate the plane and spin quickly around the center or the nose of the plane. I can't tell which.
So what they do right away is they're spinning around it in a spherical formation. This is clearly mapping the plane to some degree. My guess is what they're doing is they're trying to figure out how big the mouth of the wormhole needs to be to encompass the entire plane, so they can produce the exact right amount of energy that's necessary. And then they actually reorient about halfway through, and then they begin to go vertical around the plane in a ring formation, which if you look at the right-hand rule in electrical engineering, you'll find that then the vector based on this would be backwards, which when this dark event happens, actually you can see we've overlaid it. The plane slightly moves backwards into this wormhole as well. So this is actually also consistent with electrical engineering principles.
Okay.
And I have to go ahead.
I'm sorry. We just have such little time, and I mean, I would urge people who want to know more to go to your website and follow this. But these 3 things open up, and then there's this like black blotch. It just looks like what is that? That's energy?
Yeah, so this is technically what we're looking at there is a cold event, an endothermic event, an absorption of energy. So I would argue that what we're looking at there is the mouth of the wormhole. And if you want to think of it in layman's terms, what you think is you're ripping through the fabric of reality there. So if you think of our reality as a painting, you're ripping the painting off and you're looking at the underlying canvas there. And it's quickly closing up again right after.
Okay, so let me go to the other. It's like a black and white or black and blue and white kind of. You see the clouds, you see the plane coming in. This is secret. This is our satellite tracking system.
Yeah, so we don't look through satellites individually anymore. I mean, it's 2024. Even in 2014, we use ground-based computers, and then they can rebuild using the ground-based computers and software a tracking mechanism, and that's how we're able to look at it like this without seeing the satellite move.
Okay.
And then what I was going to say, in the thermal video too, there was heat signatures in the orbs as well, which is consistent with topological monopoles that was only publicly available from the Aalto University paper in 2015, a year after these videos as well. So the science that we see in here really wasn't even publicly available at the time when these videos were released and made public.
And all of a sudden, in the second video, you see the flash and the plane just disappear. Now, this seems ridiculously unbelievable. You know what I mean? Because it's just you don't see it. how could this possibly be true? But
Yeah, great.
the science would show that it's possible if you play it out. But why would we do this?
Yeah. And then why cover it up? And what I would say is that we are potentially looking at the most secret classified superweapons in the United States military arsenal. We dropped the atomic bomb in 1945. That was 79 years ago. And people still think that nuclear weapons are the most powerful weapon we have. No, the military has figured out a unification theory of quantum field mechanics and general relativity. And now we have gravity manipulation and space-time manipulation. This type of weapon is unstoppable on this planet. Whoever has this technology controls the planet. This is why the cover-up. This is why they want us talking about social issues and nobody looking at what kind of advanced technology.
Why would we allow this to? Why did we do this to this plane?
Yeah, and doing this to this plane, again, so you would say that the only logical explanation in my mind, this is a show of force. We wanted China and Russia to see this. We want to say, you're going to try to steal our guys that know how this technology works, the guys that make the microchips, potentially know the plasma physics. In this case, the microchip producers, that what we see in these orbs here, that's a plasma field around the orbs. If you look up hypersonic weapons, that's what you need to make a hypersonic weapon work so that they can move at the speeds at which they do, is a plasma sheath around them. So within this is some smaller object, and I guarantee that there are very advanced microchips within that small object as well.
Okay.
And you could argue that those are the reasons why we're trying to do this. And they didn't expect these videos to leak, of course, but they would expect China and Russia to have their own satellites, and they would have some idea of, whoa, what did somebody just do to this plane? And this is like, hey, don't mess with us. If you try to do this again, we're going to zap you to wherever we need to.
All right.
But I agree, it's a huge risk to be filming this. And I think that we've only developed this warp drive technology based on the papers, probably in the early to mid, maybe even late 2000s. So I don't think this was a test, but I also don't think that this technology has been out there for decades and decades. I think that to get it to this point is probably relatively recently. But that's a good question.
So I've only got about a minute left, and man, there's just so much to cover with you. But the last question is, who leaked this? How did we get this?
I'm glad we did that. So Edward C. Lin is the guy. If you look up his case, he took a plea deal went to prison for 6 years on a 9-year sentence. His timeline of being the VPU-2 Wizard Squadron, a spy plane program, is from February 2014, where he first gets investigated, April 2nd, 2014. The defense argued the classified information and questions available on the internet. The VP Squadron has deployments in Diego Garcia military base. The military was afraid that if this case went to trial, they would have to show what the information was that he leaked to damage national security so badly. I FOIA'd the NCIS, and they rejected my FOIA in total to be kept secret in the interest of national defense or foreign policy. And he was caught with flight manifests that include search and rescue code names as well. So if anyone disbelieves or whatever, we have absolute proof that if you just go talk to Edward C. Lin, if we can get him to come forward and admit that he leaked these videos, if these videos are real, he's the guy. I gave this information to the AARO, the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. They responded back a couple of weeks ago saying, Mr. Forbes, my apologies for the slow response. AARO is researching several topics. Some of AARO's initial research into MH370 has revealed the U.S. government's search efforts after the airliner disappeared from radar. I believe the genesis and authenticity of the videos may be helpful. Can you confirm the date the videos were posted to the Regicide Anon YouTube channel? And yes, a quick follow-up call may be helpful. They've ghosted me since then. If these videos are real, they will be able to authenticate them.
Ashton, I honestly don't know what to think. But that's pretty much about everything right now. In some ways, I hope that you're right. All the people were most likely dead because of the fire, right? When this happened?
That's my approach. Yeah, okay. It's not looking good. So I always like to give the condolences to the family. We've got a fire event. Boeing planes I don't trust at all. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me if they spew toxic smoke when they start on fire and kill everybody. So even when we get to the zap, it's not looking great. So I don't want to give anybody false hope out there. What I do want to tell people is that if this is real, then free energy is real. And that will change our entire planet. If you imagine the implications of free energy, you can see why they would hide this. We have everything to gain from these videos and nothing to lose.
Yeah, that's really what caused the downfall of Tesla. He had free energy, I believe, and you can't put a meter on free energy, and that's the real problem. Money, always. Ashton, thank you so much. I appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate you, man.
You bet. You can follow him, his website, youtube.com at just X Ashton, or his Twitter is at just X Ashton. You decide. I have no idea. Seems crazy